Hello, welcome to the Cup Night channel. My name is Shane, and today I have a message for you. I have given it the title of The Fog of Healing. Got my little notes right here that I will be sharing with you. I am going to do some divination with some books I have here. I have a copy of Alice in Wonderland. I have this How to Read the Wilderness book that I got recently that I just loved how it looked, so I bought it for that. And then I was actually just given a copy of Dune today, right, earlier before I started this video. So I figure, well, that's a sign. I might as well use it. So we'll read something random from Dune to see what comes out. Yeah, but before I get started with the message, I'm going to pull us an animal spirit guide here from Bernadette King's Arc Animal Tarot. These are just the oracle cards from this deck, so they're not associated with tarot cards. Just want to see, what animal energies are supporting us today in this message. There are some mythical creatures in this too, so we'll see what we get. Okay. Alright, and I'm just gonna pull randomly from the middle here, so... Ooh, wow, I actually get this one a lot. We got Meerkat. Yeah, so Meerkat is all about group dynamics and leadership. The keywords on the card here are group dynamics, discussion, effective leadership. So kind of what we're doing right here, right now, right? I'm just having a discussion for something that, I thought was interesting. It was useful to me on my journey, and I wanted to share it with everyone. So you can see the meerkat here. You kind of got it. One of them's got their mouth open. The other ones are kind of just backing him up, standing behind him. Community, yeah. Makes me think of Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King. I love it. So Meerkat is going to be helping us out today. I'll read you what is in the book for this card, because the descriptions in here are really good. So 328, 329. Here we go. All right. Meerkats wander the haunting, expansive South African desert. They have a slight, low-maintenance form, perfect for such a harsh living environment. Meerkats prefer hanging out together instead of a solitary life, which became a defining part of their symbolism for group cooperation. These creatures work as a group, gathering in packs of about 25 under a strong leader. Within this assembly, each meerkat has its own space, about 16 feet, with several well-considered entries and exits for their family's safety. This housing protects them from the noontime sun reaching 100 degrees. Meerkat takes cues from the environment and adapts, so they have enough time for gathering food, which is no small task, taking as much as 8 hours a day. Talk about a perfect emblem of determination. Meerkat is fortunate because of their honed senses, which are sharp enough to allow them to find food beneath the soil. Here, Meerkat reminds us that there are often great treasures hiding right under our noses. It's funny because my little story that I've written here for my message is all about digging. And digging up some treasures from the past, actually, in a certain light. You'll see. Anyway, using our extrasensory abilities helps us reveal them, the hidden treasures. When rearing their pups, the meerkat is an exquisite example of the concept of it takes a village. Adults in a pack all tend to the children after about 2 months, showing them how to hunt and protect them on that journey. Those youngsters who need a little more support get assigned helpers until they can make a go of it on their own. South African tribes embrace meerkat as an emblem of community, reciprocity, unity, coherence, and support. Truly, this is the core of meerkat strength, which also gives them impressive abilities in the face of danger. They stand up, alert, and make ready together. Meerkat's medicine is inseparable from this interaction, with the awareness that having a place and purpose in a greater whole is healing and encourages stalwart integrity. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and it says, when Meerkat appears as your spirit animal, it's time to create fantastic group cooperation. Well, there we go. It's kind of funny because the message I have today is not really about group dynamics at all. It's more about internal solo work. But this could be the other side of that, right? It's the missing piece for, when you are doing some intense, reflections, shadow work. It's nice to have a community you can lean on, because it can be very intense, very lonely, bring up a lot of really difficult feelings, and that's really what my message is kind of about today. I also thought it was interesting that this idea of the desert comes up, or just like, hot, arid landscapes, like where meerkats live, and then I was gifted, Dune. Earlier, and I keep kind of running into this idea of the desert, or like arid, dry landscapes. Yeah, it's interesting. All right, so I have written a little imaginative story here to aid with this message, so I'll read this to you first, and then we'll go from there and see what happens. So the fog of healing. Imagine you are standing alone with a golden shovel in the dark of a cemetery. This cemetery is special. It only contains past versions of you. You've been spending time digging up various versions of yourself to inspect their wounds. An autopsy that seems to never end. As you dig, a fog seems to rise from the graves and fills the environment around you. As you move around the cemetery, you stumble, you stub your toe, you fall into graves you previously dug up because you're having trouble seeing through all the fog and the dust particles from all the digging. The more you try to move around in the fog, the more you get frustrated and hurt. Eventually, you realize that if you stop and rest for a while, the fog clears out, the dust settles. Now you can continue your mass autopsy. Now you know that you must rest between graves. Allow the fog to clear before moving to the next. And I put this little note here, just the method to the madness. So yeah, this is just kind of some imagery that I had while thinking about this process of reflecting on past versions of yourself, and how that can really stir up some difficult, tumultuous emotions that are hard to contend with, and it can cloud your vision, right? Because fog is it's like water suspended in the air, right? And it occludes things, so it's a really good metaphor for your emotions clouding your vision. And it kind of puts you in this place, if you are trying to move about in it, where you have to go slower. You have to be careful with your footing where you step, because you can't really see what's in front of you. You kind of have to have faith and trust in where you're headed, right? Yeah, it can be daunting. And honestly, like I had said in this little imaginative visualization here, it might be easier to just, put the shovel down for a while and just kind of let the fog clear out before you try doing something else, like if your actions that you're taking, which are good to do, to, dig into past versions of you, or, maybe parts of you that you'd forgotten about, and examine them and understand them instead of just rejecting them. I kind of forgot where I was going with that. But the point being, it's good to just kind of let the dust settle, let the fog clear out every once in a while when you're doing some heavy digging, some heavy reflection. And after I had written this, I had this other thought of, it's like this fog that I saw rising from the grave as you dug into it. It's like all this trapped emotional energy that was never clear. It's like this past version of yourself was improperly put to rest. It's like not everything was cleared out before the body was just thrown into a grave and buried and forgotten about. And it's like this process of going back and visiting those parts of you that you kind of stowed away. I actually wrote cold storage on here. It's like, you can feel that there's something there that needs to be addressed or that needs to be cleared or released. And this process of going and digging up those parts of you is, that's it. That's the thing that needs to be done. And it takes time and effort. Digging is not easy. It takes a lot of patience and diligence. And then, as you're digging and all this fog and dust is, coming up in the air and kind of clouding everything, you also have to be patient and wait. Yeah. So a couple of key phrases I wrote down here to go with this idea. Maybe this will inspire something within you or trigger something within you in a good way. Cold storage, like I said. Absolute faith and trust in your divinity. So whatever that means to you, however you see your connection to the spiritual side of your life, if you even have one at all. I imagine you probably do if you're watching a video like this, but, who knows. Digging up the layers, unclear and intense emotions, and this too shall pass. Yeah. And, by the way, happy Mars Day. It is Tuesday, which is associated with the planet Mars. And I had written some words down here when I did my meditation earlier today that kind of go with Mars and that relate to this message. Boldness, directness, passion, fire. So these are all things you would have to have in order to, be willing to go and dig up a grave, right? And to, do like a post-burial autopsy on past versions of yourself. Severity, cutting away, sacrifice. And that kind of goes with the idea of letting, those things that were buried that were never properly addressed or taken care of or honored or whatever. It's like that idea of letting them go, like releasing them. And then I I had this song from a band that I've listened to for a very long time, since like middle school. The band is The Classic Crime, but they have a song called Grave Digging, and it just popped in my head as I was writing this little imaginative story. But the lyrics are so spot on to what I was tapping into here. The chorus is, "Give me your poison pills, 'cause I'm digging my star-crossed grave tonight, no longer living a lie." And I encourage you to go check out that song. I'll put a link in the description to a YouTube video they posted of it. But I love how all these connections are made like that. It never ceases to amaze me. Okay. So I think I've said all I can say about that. Let's see what we get out of this book. I'm just going to kind of open to a random page. I'm feeling like the middle back portion of the book, so I'm just going to flip somewhere there, like right here. And we got page 372. And I'm just going to kind of read from the top. So spoiler alert, if you're interested in reading Dune or you haven't seen the movies or whatever, maybe skip past this portion of the video. All right. What is his ancestry, she wondered. Whence comes such breeding? she said. Stilgar, I underestimated you. Such was my suspicion, he said. Each of us apparently underestimated the other, she said. I should like an end to this, he said. I should like friendship with you, and trust. I should like that respect for each other which grows in the breast without demand for the huddlings of sex. I understand, she said. Do you trust me? I hear your sincerity. Among us, he said, the Sayadina, when they are not the formal leaders, hold a special place of honor. They teach. They maintain the strength of God here. He touched his breast. Now I must probe this Reverend Mother mystery, she thought, and she said, You spoke of your Reverend Mother, and I've heard words of legend and prophecy. It is said that a Bene Gesserit and her offspring hold the key to our future, he said. Do you believe that I am that one? She watched his face, thinking, The young reed dies so easily. Beginnings are times of such great peril. We do not know, he said. She nodded, thinking, He's an honorable man. He wants a sign from me, but he'll not tip fate by telling me the sign. Jessica turned her head, stared down into the basin at the golden shadows, the purple shadows, the vibrations of dust-mote air across the lip of their cave. Her mind was filled suddenly with feline prudence. She knew the cant of the Missionaria Protectiva, knew how to adapt the techniques of legend and fear and hope to her emergency needs, but she sensed wild changes here, as though someone had been in among these freemen and capitalized on the Missionaria Protectiva's imprint. Stilgar cleared his throat. She sensed his impatience, knew that the day moved ahead, and men waited to seal off this opening. Okay, so, pretty interesting passage there. So, stuff about wondering, ancestry, so stuff about the past, where you come from. Also, mention of dust-filled air, and looking at golden shadows, purple shadows. There's stuff about prophecy in here. New beginnings. Yeah. Trust between these two characters, Jessica and Stilgar. And kind of a misunderstanding between them, it seems like. So yeah, I think that goes perfectly with what I was just talking about. It's this idea of like having trust and faith in the situation you find yourself in, even when things are foggy and unclear and emotions are running high and you're in a perilous situation. Like it sounds like they were at this point trapped inside of a cave, kind of anticipating enemies seeking them out. And they're deep inside of a cave, like looking at shadows. Like that's so perfect. So thanks to Dune, and thanks to my boyfriend's grandma. She gave me this book just a few hours ago. All right, let's move on to the next one. We've got How to Read the Wilderness. An illustrated guide to North American flora and fauna. And I just love how this book looks. The cover is so cool, and the pages are like orange on the side, the green and the orange. It's just very beautiful. Published by Chronicle Books. So I'm feeling with this one, I'm just going to open to like the back, closer to the end of the book. Right here. Okay. Oh, constellations. Okay. So we have two constellations on pages 368 and 369. We have Swan or Cygnus, the Northern Cross, and then Lyra or Lyre, which is like a harp. Try to show you here. Hopefully it picks those up so you can see it. Yeah. So this idea of the Northern Cross kind of goes with graves, right? Like those lyrics, digging my star-crossed grave tonight. There are some different interpretations from different cultures listed on here. Let me just read the page. So it says, Asterism, the Northern Cross, best viewing June to November. In summer and fall, this cross rises in the northeast, travels overhead, and sets in the northwest. And then it lists some of the fixed stars that are in it. Deneb, Alberio, Satyr, and Gienah. So the Arabs considered this a hen instead of a swan. The Greeks called it a bird. The Romans called it a swan. The Society Islanders in South Pacific called it a white sea swallow. The Warao, W-A-R-A-O, Warao in Venezuela called it a turkey. And the Christians called it a cross. And the Chinese called it a magpie, which, where I'm at right now, there are magpies everywhere. They're always outside, and they're so cool. I love magpies. It says, birds from a bridge so that two lovers may unite. Oh, so there's this idea of things coming together again. And it's a little morbid, but relating it to the grave digging, it's like reuniting with those past versions of yourself and understanding, like, you know, having a better understanding of why you were that way, or, you know, why you had to go through that period of your life. I like that. The lyre or lira, it says best viewing May to November. So these are like right in line with the season we find ourselves in right now. Today's September 9th, 2025. Let's see. It says there's a fixed star Vega, which I guess means eagle, a very bright bluish-white star near the Northern Cross. So these constellations are next to each other, which makes sense. They're beside each other in the book. So the Arabs and Greeks thought it was a harp or a lyre. Arion played his lyre as shipboard robbers threw him into the sea to die. A dolphin, attracted by the beauty of Arion's music, carried him to safety. So, yeah, that's a pretty traumatic event, but he was taken care of by the universe, a dolphin. Let's see, early Britons considered this the Talon Arthur, Arthur's harp. The Arabs also thought it to be the swooping stone eagle of the desert. That's interesting. Persians thought it was a tortoise. The Inuit saw it as grandmother. Peruvians, ram at the head of flock. So this idea of leadership. The Chumash in California, or Kumash, scorpion woman's stinger. And then the Chinese said it was a weaving princess. A sky princess and a cowherd fell in love. They married and were so happy they neglected their duties and were ordered to opposite sides of a river, the Milky Way. They may unite only on the 7th night of the 7th month of the Chinese calendar each year, when magpies form a bridge so the lovers can be together. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay. And then the Luiseno in California considered it the buzzard's right hand. Yeah, so this is very interesting. There's this idea of like the cross as like a bridge between lovers or parts of self coming together, you know, two different aspects of self coming together. You could think of it that way. And then also this idea of music being integral to it, like, and this idea of leadership tied to the music, the ram at the head of the flock. So it's like, you know, marching to the drums of war, kind of, you know, like the music leading you into battle or guiding the way, kind of an idea here. Yeah, that's okay. I like that. Kind of makes me think, like, I've always used music, and a lot of people do. It's not uncommon for people to use music during very tumultuous emotional times to get through it, right? Because music is so healing. It very relatable and emotional and intense, and it can definitely, I mean, it definitely helped me early on in my life. It was a very big part of mine and a lot of my family's life. And I connected with a lot of people over it too, as a lot of people do. Yeah, I love that. And then, of course, this whole like the cross as a bridge, in thinking of it as like, you know, a lot of graves are marked with crosses, and thinking of that as like a bridge between the past and the present and the future, or like a way to reconnect with those beyond the veil of the living, right? Like this like, yeah, I just love this idea. I never really thought about the cross as a bridge, but it makes a lot of sense. I guess I've probably heard that before, but it never really struck me, I guess. But I mean, the cross was literally the bridge for Jesus between like him living and dying. Like he was crucified on the cross, and so he transitioned from being alive to being dead on the cross. So the cross was a literal bridge for him. Yeah, interesting. Okay, and then we also have this copy of Alice in Wonderland. I got this from my Goodwill in Florida many years ago, and it's got some interesting artwork in here. So some of the pages don't have artwork on it, but of course the story is by Lewis Carroll, but the illustrations are done by Sir John Tenniel. Yeah, so let's see what we get out of here. I'm going to go for somewhere near the front on this one. Okay, so we don't have any pictures, but we're on page 32 and 33. I'm going to go with page 33, and we'll go right here. Ugh, said the Lory with a shiver. I beg your pardon, said the Mouse, frowning but very politely. Did you speak? Not I, said the Lory hastily. I thought you did, said the Mouse. I proceed. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him, and even Stigand, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable. Found what? Said the Duck. Found it, the Mouse replied rather crossly. Of course you know what it means. I know what it means well enough. When I find a thing, said the Duck, it's generally a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the Archbishop find? The Mouse did not notice this question, but hurriedly went on. Found it advisable to go with Edgar Atheling to meet William and offer him the crown. William's conduct at first was moderate, but the insolence of his Normans... How are you getting on now, my dear? It continued, turning to Alice as it spoke. As wet as ever, said Alice in a melancholy tone. It doesn't seem to dry me at all. In that case, said the Dodo solemnly, rising to its feet, I move that the meeting adjourn for the immediate adoption of more energetic remedies. Speak English, said the Eaglet. I don't know what the meaning of half those long words, and what's more, I don't believe you do either. And the Eaglet bent down its head to hide a smile. Some of the other birds tittered audibly. Okay. So that passage is kind of interesting too. It's like confusing, right? Like the fog. And Alice in Wonderland is generally just a confusing tale, right? Like she's literally lost the whole time, not knowing where she is or who any of the characters are, and just kind of charging ahead, trusting that she will end up somewhere, right? And there's this idea of, like, again, ancestry. Like, this mouse is talking about these earls of Mercia and Northumbria and someone being crowned. And there's also this kind of, like, someone wanting to know specifics, right? Like, what did they find? What is it? You're not saying what it is that they found. You're just talking about this lineage, but you're not saying, like, what is it revolving around, you know? So there's kind of this idea of, like, something being hidden, right? And that goes back to the grave idea. What's buried underneath? You don't know till you dig it up, till you do the work. And you don't know what's going to come up with it. All right. Yeah. Let's do some tarot. See what else comes out. So I did on the, I shuffled the deck before I started the video, and on the bottom was the Five of Pentacles. So again, this idea of something being left out in the cold, I'm thinking cold storage, which is funny because it's like when you store something, you normally think you're storing it like, you know, somewhere like in a box or in a cooler or in the ground or whatever. But like these people are just out in the cold. Like it's like they're being stored outside. And it's also kind of this, like the depiction is kind of like, you know, death, decay. Like they look very decrepit and injured, right? Yeah, so it makes me think of like those parts of you that maybe you've forgotten about, that are left out in the cold, that you need to let inside. Reconnect with them, right? Two of Cups. And they need some nurturing. Queen of Pentacles. So, what is it that you have buried? Reflection. Seven of Pentacles. When was it buried and why? Is it growing something new? Is something new growing from it? Ooh, I don't know what's going on in the camera there for a second. It got kind of blurry. It's kind of foggy. Yeah, something new coming from it. Page of Pentacles. Lots of earth energy coming out here, which I love because that goes perfectly with this idea of grave digging. All right. Let's see here. Oh, okay. A lot just came out. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. We've got Judgment, which they're literally rising out of graves. And this idea of music coming through again with the horn there. Yeah, it's like, you know, maybe you don't even have to dig at all. Maybe there's an easier way to reconnect with these past versions of self, and it might be through music or through sound somehow. Yeah, that's interesting. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a reading from me without the Tower. So there's the Tower. I'm picking up on this idea of like, I mean, really, it's just trauma, you know, and because this is kind of depicting a traumatic event, like this tower is being set on fire by lightning and the people had to jump out of it off of a cliff into the unknown, right? So a forced ending, or yeah, something not so subtle, something dramatic happening here. Is that what's buried in the past? Some traumas that you're not willing to face? We also have the Ace of Cups and the Nine of Swords. I'm going to take these together. So there you go. Yeah. Nine of Swords. This is that card of like anxiety and frustration and just like despair, sadness, depression, not being able to sleep. And then, of course, the Ace of Cups. I consider this to be the heart card. The cup being the heart and the water being the energy within the heart. And this is depicting an overflow. And, of course, water representing emotions, an overflow of emotions. So are your emotions keeping you up at night? And the Nine of Swords is kind of like a really good depiction of mental fog as well, because you can see all these swords are like blocking, they're like near her head, and they're kind of like blocking the view, right? They're like blinds. They kind of look like blinds. They're blinding. And preventing, you know, actual rest. So it's like causing this overflow of emotions. And this can be healing, but like I said, it's this idea of like slowing down and processing and just letting it wash over you. Like these swords are kind of like cascading down over her. And yeah, it sucks, but it's a process, right? It's, you know, you got to take it as it comes. It's this process of awakening, reclaiming the parts of you that are long forgotten, parts of you that maybe you denied or others denied, which in turn caused you to bury them and forget about. Yeah, the fog of healing. It can be rough, but it's also fun because you get to remember who you are. You know, remembering who you are, connecting with your heart, overflowing with love, reclaiming your power. And I actually like to interpret the tower as a good thing a lot of times too, but the whole idea of trauma and like past unresolved past circumstances came up because it was, I don't know, it just went with the story of this whole like idea of digging up old versions of self and kind of examining them, figuring out, you know, what happened to this part of me, why did it die, why did I have to bury it here, is there anything here for me to reclaim about myself? And of course, death is a part of life, and we go through cycles of death and rebirth all the time. I feel like I'm doing it literally every day now, which is great. It's very exciting. I'm discovering so much about myself and reconnecting with parts of myself that I had rejected for a long time. For instance, getting back into music, which, funny, the Lyra or Lyre constellation came up for that. And also that being heavily tied to this like spiritual rebirth or awakening that I'm having right now, which the cross and the lyre right beside each other. I mean, perfect. But yeah, I really do feel like getting back in touch with this musical side of me is kind of accelerating this journey that I find myself on. So if you've ever been attached to music, it's not even that you have to play it, but maybe just like reconnecting with old songs that you used to love, or, you know, artists, or just anything, right? Even just listening to like sound meditations, like frequencies, stuff like I do that all the time. It's very helpful for meditation. It puts you in that state. Sound is very powerful. And I really do think at some level, you know, kind of the quantum perspective, everything is vibration, right? And, you know, what better way to connect with this idea of like a very fundamental aspect of reality, a vibrational aspect of reality than music? It's literally just like energy vibrating through the air and causing little hairs in our ears to vibrate as well, and then our brain interpreting those vibrations and creating that experience of feeling the sound and hearing the sound. It's beautiful. All right, I'm going to do, I've got these wild unknown archetypes here. I'll pull one of these for you, see what comes out, and I'll wrap up the message with that. Thanks for being here with me. Hopefully you have some things to chew on. Oh, here we go. And yeah, I hope you found something valuable here, digging up this grave of a message with me. So we got the threshold, which is interesting because it looks like I am almost seeing the feet here as like the feet of a cadaver, and then like there's this barrier between, you know, this life energy down here, this red hot fiery life energy and this just like cold darkness. Again, like cold storage. I keep thinking that. I don't know why, but yeah, that's interesting. This idea of like being so close, just like right on the verge of some big breakthrough. You're right on the threshold. And then on the bottom, we had the mentor, which shows this really beautiful owl and this beautiful golden orb of energy there. And it's like this golden orb is being protected by this wise animal spirit here. And these colors go really well together, the threshold and the mentor. You can see the gold, kind of like this reddish orange. See the connection there. And then, of course, space and the owl is kind of mirroring this cadaver. So it's like, and you know, with owls, a bird taking flight, it's this idea again of like a rebirth, of like an awakening, just being right on the threshold of this like huge breakthrough. Yeah, and just kind of allowing yourself to guide you through it. Be your own mentor, you know, connect with those parts of yourself that you've forgotten about. You know, I definitely downplayed the spiritual side of life for a very long time just because I had a very rough experience with it personally growing up, so I always discounted it. I always thought there was something to the universe, like something magical that we didn't fully understand, but connecting with it in this way was never something I thought I would be doing. And yet here I am, and it's been fun, and I have a good time doing it. So yeah, there's some kind of breakthrough about to happen. If this message is resonating with you, just know that and trust, you know. If life feels foggy right now, if there's some kind of barrier in front of you, you've been having some trouble kind of processing or having a full night's sleep. I know I keep waking up. I wake up so many times recently in the middle of the night and just like have to like, you know, do breathing exercises to fall back asleep, which I typically don't ever have trouble falling asleep. But lately it has been kind of like this Nine of Swords energy for me, just like lots of energy flowing through, you know, the filter of my brain and causing all of these thoughts. And it's not like they're bad thoughts, really. It's just like I'll be seeing like visions and images in my mind, and I'm like, I just want to sleep. Why can't you just do this in a dream? But like, it's like, no, you have to be conscious for this for some reason. That's the kind of energy that I've been feeling lately. And it really does feel like this breakthrough is going to be kind of like something surprising, like a tower moment. Not necessarily a traumatic tower moment, but like something unexpected, something surprising that just like pierces through that wall and, you know, gets you going on whatever this next phase of life is. Which I have a feeling it's something good with Judgment and the Ace of Cups. So yeah, trust, have faith. You're right where you need to be. Everything is okay. Life is beautiful. Healing is worth it. It's worth doing the hard work and, you know, maybe realizing that maybe you don't have to dig. You know, maybe that was one way of doing it before, but maybe there are easier ways. Maybe there's something, you know, at a higher level of reality, a vibrational level that you can tap into in order to reawaken these old parts of yourself without having to, you know, break your back and bruise your hands and get blisters from digging with a shovel in the dirt. Yeah, I love this. I love this energy that's coming here. All right. This is the part of the video where I'm going to do some channel announcements. So if you're not interested in that, then thanks for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself. Keep your heart open. For those of you still here interested in hearing about what I'm going to do with this channel, you can see I haven't posted something since I put that song that I did up recently. And actually that was, I feel it was premature. The song wasn't quite ready yet. I do like the song structure and the the frame of it and everything, but the execution of it, like my heart wasn't fully in it, and I was kind of timid, and I wasn't playing it as fast as I wanted to. And there was somebody who actually commented and pointed out that like they sped the video up and it sounded like more energetic, and and that's what I wanted from that song. It's called Swimming in My Pool. You'll see it on my channel if you're interested. I do really like the song, and I have been working on it and playing it faster with more energy and more passion, and I'm going to re-record it at some point. But yeah, I'm going to keep doing these messages as they come to me as well. And then I also have an idea for a series of videos about creative correspondences. So if you know the Golden Dawn, they're kind of this like very famous esoteric organization that created, Edward Waite Smith. He made this tarot deck with, I'm sorry, not Smith. Edward Waite and Pamela Smith collaborated and made this tarot deck that is so famous. They've made a lot of really rich symbolic imagery and just content and correspondences that people rely on. And, obviously all of that came from them tapping into something, some source within themselves, and then collaborating with each other to make it a reality. So this video idea that I'm having is kind of just about like creating my own correspondences between tarot cards, the major arcana, and the planets, and various things that resonate, that make sense with me, that feel right with me. And kind of just promoting this idea of like, yes, organizations like the Golden Dawn are really cool, and they did a lot of really great stuff for occult esoteric knowledge, but it's not the end all be all. It's not the only way of looking at things, and we have the power to do our own correspondences and be creative with it and see what interesting concepts come out of that process. So that video series will be, it's going to be 11 videos, and it's going to use the planets as like the starting point, and then kind of branch out from there. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, yeah, who knows? I'm this channel, I'm not really sure what it's going to end up being, but I'm just trying different things and having fun with it and seeing, what sticks, what doesn't. Yeah, and I'll go from there. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Take care of yourself, keep your heart open, and bye.